The bell rang loudly through the old school building. Paint peeled from the walls, and cold air slipped in through broken windows. Inside classroom 12, students sat close together on wooden desks that had seen many years. Some desks were cracked. Some chairs had no backs. At the front of the room stood Ethan Cole, a quiet man in his early 30s. He wore a simple brown jacket and held a stack of old books. He had been teaching here for 5 years. He never complained. He never raised his voice. He believed teaching was not just about lessons, but about people. As Ethan spoke about simple math problems, his eyes moved across the room. He noticed something he had seen many times before, but today it hurt more. A small boy sat near the back. His name was Lucas. He was thin, silent, and always kept his head down. Under the desk, his feet were bare. It was winter. The floor was cold. The boy's toes were red and cracked. One foot had a small cut dry. Blood around it. Lucas tried to hide his feet, pulling them back whenever someone looked. Some students noticed. A few whispered. One boy laughed quietly. Ethan stopped talking. The room went silent. "Enough," Ethan said softly. The students looked down. Ethan did not shout. He never did. He continued the lesson, but his heart was no longer with the numbers on the board. It was with the boy who had no shoes. After class, students rushed. Out, Lucas stayed behind, packing his torn bag slowly. Ethan waited. "Lucas," Ethan said gently, "you can go." Lucas nodded and walked past him. Ethan watched the boy leave, his bare feet touching the cold hallway floor. That night, Ethan could not sleep. He thought about his own childhood. His parents were not rich, but they always made sure he had shoes. He remembered his mother saying, "Kindness costs less than regret." The next morning, Ethan stopped by a small shop on his way to school. He looked at prices carefully. He did not have much money. His rent was due soon. He bought a simple pair of black shoes, nothing fancy. Just warm, just strong. During lunch break, Ethan called Lucas to his desk. "Sit," Ethan said. Lucas looked confused. His hands shook. "These are for you," Ethan said, placing the shoes on the floor. Lucas stared at them. His eyes filled with tears. For me," the boy whispered. Ethan nodded. "Yes, they will keep your feet warm." Lucas slowly put them on. They fit perfectly. He stood up, smiled, and for the first time, looked someone in the eyes. "Thank you," he said. Ethan smiled back. What Ethan did not know was that someone was watching. A phone camera clicked quietly from the doorway. Another teacher frowned. A parent volunteer shook her head. By the end of the day, the photo was everywhere. The next morning, Ethan was called into the principal's office. The room was warm, too warm. The principal sat behind a clean desk, arms crossed. 2 board members sat beside him. A printed photo lay on the table. "You broke school policy," the principal said coldly. "You gave a student personal items. You embarrassed the school." "I helped a child," Ethan replied calmly. "You made us look poor," the principal said. "Parents are angry. Donors are watching." Ethan said nothing. "You are dismissed," the principal said. "Effective immediately." Ethan felt the words hit him like ice. Later that day, Ethan stood outside the school with a cardboard box. His books were inside, his nameplate. A photo of his class. Parents watched him pass. Some whispered. Some avoided his eyes. Students stared. Lucas ran toward him. "Sir," the boy cried. A staff member pulled Lucas back. Ethan knelt down. "It's okay," he said softly. "Wear the shoes every day," Lucas cried. Rain began to fall. Ethan walked away alone, his coat soaked, his heart heavy. He did not know that this moment, this small act of kindness, would soon shake worlds far beyond this broken school. But for now, all he felt was shame. And silence. Ethan Cole woke up before the sun. The small room was dark and quiet, except for the sound of rain tapping the window. He lay still on the thin mattress, staring at the ceiling. For the first time in years, he had nowhere to go in the morning. No classroom, no students, no job. He sat up slowly and rubbed his face. His alarm clock still rang at 6, the time he always woke up to prepare lessons. Ethan reached out and turned it off. The silence that followed felt heavy, like a weight on his chest. On the table near the bed, his phone blinked with unread messages. He already knew what they were. News alerts, comments, messages from people who had never met him. Teacher breaks rules. Unprofessional behavior in public school. He crossed the line. Ethan did not open them. He made a cup of weak tea and stood by the window. Outside, the city looked tired. Old buildings, empty streets, gray skies. He wondered how one small act could erase 5 years of honest work. By the afternoon, reality pressed harder. Ethan opened his wallet. Almost empty. He spent the next few days selling what little he owned: a chair, a small shelf, an old radio his father had given him. Each item left the room quieter and more empty. He paid his rent, but only for 1 more month. At night, hunger came slowly. He ate 1 simple meal a day: bread, soup, sometimes nothing. He told himself it was fine. He had seen students survive on less, but loneliness was worse than hunger. Former coworkers stopped answering his calls. Neighbors looked away. Even people he once helped crossed the street to avoid him. His name had become something people did not want to touch. One evening, Ethan walked past the school. He stayed across the street, watching the lights inside. He imagined Lucas sitting at his desk, wearing the black shoes. That thought kept him standing there longer than he should have. Did I ruin that child's life? Ethan whispered to himself. A week later, a strange letter arrived. It was thick and heavy, not like regular mail. The paper felt expensive. Ethan frowned when he saw the return address. A law firm from another city, one he had never heard of. He opened it slowly. The letter spoke of a man named Arthur Cole. Distant uncle, deceased, estate matters. Ethan laughed softly. I don't have an uncle, he said to the empty room. His parents had died years ago. They never spoke of family beyond grandparents. Ethan assumed the letter was a mistake or a scam. He placed it on the table and forgot about it. 2 days later, another message arrived. This time, it was an email. It included legal documents, signatures, and a short video attachment. The subject line read, Final request, Arthur Cole. Ethan's hands shook as he opened it. The video began with an older man sitting in a dark room. His eyes were sharp, but kind. Behind him, strange lights glowed softly, unlike anything had seen before. Ethan, the man said, if you are watching this, then I am gone. Ethan leaned closer to the screen. I know you were told I vanished, the man continued. I know they called me a dreamer, a fool, but I watched you. I always watched. The video ended suddenly. Ethan sat back, heart racing. The next day, a black car waited outside his building. A woman in a dark suit stepped out. She spoke with calm authority. Double quotes, Mr. Cole, she said. We need to talk, in person. They met. In a quiet office downtown. No signs, no noise. The woman introduced herself as a legal representative. Your uncle left you something, she said. Something valuable. Ethan shook his head. I don't want trouble. I just want my life back. The woman studied him. Your life is about to change. She slid a folder across the table. Inside were documents, photos, and strange symbols. Some were not human. This inheritance, she said carefully, is not just money. Ethan looked up, confused and afraid. Outside the office, the city moved as always. People walked. Cars passed. No one noticed that a broken teacher had just stepped onto a path far bigger than Earth itself, and Ethan still had no idea that his fall was only the beginning. Ethan left the office with the folder pressed tight against his chest. The woman's words stayed in his mind like an echo. Your life is about to change. He did not believe her. Life did not change for people like him. It only got smaller. That night, he spread the papers across his small table. Names, dates, old photos. One picture showed a younger man standing beside strange metal walls, smooth and shining. The man looked like Ethan, only older and stronger. Written on the back was one name, Arthur Cole. Ethan stared at the photo for a long time. His parents never spoke about Arthur. When Ethan was a child and asked about family, his father always changed the subject. His mother once said, "Some people walk paths others fear." That was all. The next morning, Ethan returned to the law office. The woman was waiting. This time, another man sat beside her. He wore simple clothes, but his eyes were sharp and alert. "Mr. Cole," the man said, "I am not a lawyer. I am here to explain the parts that cannot be written on paper." Ethan crossed his arms. "Explain what?" "My uncle disappeared." "Now?" "You say he left me something strange." The man nodded. "Your uncle did not disappear. He left Earth." Ethan laughed. It came out bitter. "You expect me to believe that?" The man pressed a button on the table. The wall changed. It became a screen. Ethan's breath stopped. Zars filled the room. Planets moved slowly. Ships glided through space, silent and massive. Some were shaped like nothing humans had ever built. "This is real," the man said calmly. "Your uncle helped build it." Ethan stood up, his legs weak. "This is not possible." "It is," the man replied. "And your uncle believed humans deserved more than fear and hunger." The screen changed again. Now it showed Earth from above. Lines connected cities to points beyond the stars. Arthur Cole worked with others, the man continued. "Some human, some not." Ethan felt cold. "Aliens?" "Yes," the man said simply. The woman spoke again. "Your uncle was part of a hidden alliance. Knowledge was shared slowly, carefully. Most humans could not know. They were not ready." Ethan thought of the school, the rules, the fear of looking poor. "Not ready," he thought. "Why me?" Ethan asked quietly. The man looked at him. "Because your uncle watched your life. He saw what you did when no one rewarded you." The screen changed one last time. It showed the classroom. It showed Lucas. It showed the shoes. Ethan felt his throat tighten. He saw kindness, the man said. Not power, not ambition. Kindness. They told Ethan about Arthur's final years. How he lived far from Earth, building systems to protect resources and help worlds grow. How he refused to sell control to greedy groups. How he chose a single heir. "You," the woman said. Ethan shook his head. "I'm just a teacher." Arthur's voice played again from the video. "If you are watching this, Ethan, then you stayed kind when the world punished you for it. That is why I trust you." The video ended. Silence filled the room. Ethan sat slowly. His hands trembled. "What did he leave me?" The man and woman exchanged a look. "Control," the woman said. "Access and responsibility." Ethan learned that Arthur owned parts of stations beyond Earth. Energy farms, transport paths, water systems that could feed entire planets. The value was beyond numbers, but it is not free, the man warned. Many will want it. Some already know you exist. Ethan felt fear crawl up his spine. "I didn't ask for this." "No," the man agreed. "But the universe rarely asks." They gave Ethan time to think. He walked home through the city, the same streets that once ignored him. Nothing looked different, yet everything was. Above the gray clouds, other worlds waited. That night, Ethan stood at his window again. But this time, he looked up, Not down. He thought of Lucas, of bare feet on cold floors, of rules without mercy. And for the first time since he was fired, Ethan felt something new. Purpose. Whatever his uncle left him, Ethan knew one thing clearly. He would never let kindness be punished again. Ethan did not sleep that night. His mind moved faster than his body could follow. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw stars, silent ships, and his uncle's calm face. By morning, the city outside his window looked the same, but Ethan knew his life had crossed a line it could never return from. At sunrise, the black car came again. This time, Ethan did not hesitate. They drove far outside the city, past factories and empty land, to a place that did not appear on any map. A tall metal gate opened without sound. Beyond it stood a wide structure of dark glass and smooth silver walls. Inside, the air felt clean and still. The woman and the sharp-eyed man led Ethan through long halls. No guards were visible, yet Ethan felt watched. Doors opened as they approached. As if the building knew who he was, they stopped before a large, circular room. "This is where your uncle made his final decisions," the man said. The room came alive. Light rose from the floor, forming shapes in the air, maps of space, lines of energy, symbols that slowly turned into words Ethan could read. "Access granted." Ethan took a step back. "It recognizes me?" "Yes," the woman said. "Your uncle built it that way." A calm voice filled the room. It was not human, yet it spoke perfect English. "Welcome, Heir." Ethan's heart raced. The voice explained everything. Arthur Cole did not leave a single fortune. He left a network. Energy stations powered by stars. Water harvesters that could pull life from dry worlds. Transport paths hidden between systems. All of it designed to help growing civilizations survive. Without war, why hide it? Ethan asked. "Because power attracts hunger," the voice replied. "Your uncle saw what humans did to each other for less." Ethan thought of donors, school boards, and lies. He understood. The woman stepped forward. "Legally, everything is already yours. But control requires a choice." The lights shifted. Two paths appeared in the air. One path glowed gold. It showed comfort, wealth, safety. Ethan living far from trouble, never needing to worry again. The second path glowed blue. It showed movement, risk, responsibility, worlds in need. Children without food. Teachers without tools. Ethan felt his chest tighten. "If I refuse?" he asked. "The system will lock itself," the voice said. "Your uncle prepared for that. Nothing will be taken by force." Ethan walked slowly between the two paths. He remembered Lucas' shoes. How small they were. How big the punishment had been. "What happens if I choose the second path?" Ethan asked. "Enemies," the man said honestly. "Powerful ones, on Earth?" Ethan asked. "On many worlds," the woman answered. Ethan laughed softly. "I already lost everything once." He reached out and touched the blue light. The room changed. Information flooded the air. Names of hidden groups, corporations, governments, some human, some not. Many were already watching him. "You are now visible," the voice said. "They will test you." As if on command, Ethan's phone BRATD messages. Unknown numbers, offers, threats. One message stood out. "Return what is not yours." Ethan felt fear, but it did not control him. "What do I do first?" he asked. The voice paused, then answered. "Begin small. Begin human." Hours later, Ethan returned home. But his small apartment no longer felt like a prison. It felt like a starting point. That night, funds moved quietly. Old schools received repairs. Food centers opened without names. Medical supplies arrived where no cameras waited. No speeches. No credit, just help. Across the city, Lucas School received a shipment of winter supplies. Shoes, Coats, heating units. Ethan watched the update on a secure screen. He smiled, but far away, others watched too. In dark rooms and silent stations, powerful eyes turned toward Earth. The heir has chosen, a voice said. And he chose wrong, another replied. Ethan stood at his window once more, but this time, he did not feel small. The inheritance was real. The danger was real, and the test had begun. The changes began quietly, almost too quietly for anyone to notice at first. Schools in poor districts were repaired overnight. Broken heaters worked again. Children came to class wearing warm coats and strong shoes. No logos appeared. No speeches were made. It was as if kindness itself had learned how to move in silence. Ethan watched everything from a small secure screen in his apartment. He did not feel proud. He felt careful. Each action was small, human, and simple, just as the voice had advised, but silence never lasts. Within weeks, rumors spread. A donor with no name. A hidden hand helping the forgotten. A teacher who fell and vanished. Journalists searched for stories. Governments searched for money. Corporations searched for control. Then the calls began. At first, they sounded polite. A school board representative asked for a discussion. A private company offered partnership. A government office requested a meeting for national interest. Ethan said no to all of them. The tone changed. News channels reopened the old story. The photo of Ethan giving shoes to Lucas appeared again, this time twisted. Was the act staged? One anchor asked. Did he plan this? Another questioned. Comment sections filled with hate. He broke the rules. He thinks he is above the system. He should be stopped. Ethan stopped reading. One evening, the woman from the legal office contacted him again. They know it's you, she said. Some on Earth. Some beyond. Can they take it? Ethan asked. Not directly, she replied. But they can pressure you. That night, Ethan's power went out. His building elevator stopped working. His bank account was frozen without explanation. Warning, not an accident. Ethan sat in the dark and breathed slowly. I've been here before, he whispered. The next day, Lucas appeared on the screen again. The boy stood in his classroom, now warm and bright. He raised his hand. He answered questions with confidence. The shoes were worn, but clean. Ethan smiled. Then the message arrived. It did not come through email or phone. It appeared directly on the secure system. Stop. The voice that followed was cold and clear. You are wasting valuable resources, it said. Human emotion is not an efficient guide. Who are you? Ethan indicated. A group with experience, the voice replied. Your uncle refused us. Now you stand in his place. What do you want? Ethan asked. Control, the voice said. Transfer authority. Live comfortably. Let others decide. Ethan leaned back in his chair. And if I refuse? There was a pause. Then the world will remember your mistakes. Minutes later, the news broke. Ethan Cole was accused of financial crimes. Fake. Documents appeared. Headlines screamed lies. His face was everywhere again. The same crowd that once ignored him now wanted him destroyed. People shouted outside his building. Fraud! Thief! Ethan watched from behind his curtain. Fear knocked at his chest. Hard, but it did not enter. He contacted the system. What happens if they destroy my name? He asked. Names recover, the voice replied. Choices do not. Ethan stood. That night, he did something unexpected. He went public. Not with wealth, not with power, with truth. He released verified proof of aid delivered, lives saved, systems built, no numbers. Just faces, children, teachers, doctors. Lucas' face appeared briefly, not named, just smiling. The crowd outside fell silent as screens changed. But the enemies were not finished. Across the stars, meetings were held. "He is resisting," one voice said. "He is human," another replied. "He will break." Ethan closed his laptop and looked out at the city. They thought he was weak because he cared. They were wrong. The world was turning against him, but Ethan was no longer alone. And this time, he would not walk away in the rain. The silence after. Ethan's message was deeper than any noise. For 2 days, no threats arrived. No calls, no warnings. The world seemed to hold its breath, as if waiting to see what would happen next. Ethan used that time wisely. He did not hide. He did not run. Instead, he listened. Messages came from teachers, doctors, and parents across the world. They did not ask for money. They shared stories, broken schools, sick children, forgotten towns. Ethan read them all, one by one, late into the night. He saw a pattern. The world did not need rulers. It needed helpers. Ethan contacted the system again. "Can decisions be shared?" he asked. The calm voice replied. "But shared power carries risk. So does holding it alone," Ethan said. The system paused, then answered. "Proposal. Accepted." What Ethan did next shocked everyone watching. He did not claim authority. He gave it away. He formed small human councils, teachers, engineers, farmers, doctors from different countries. No politicians, no billionaires. Each group received limited access, enough to solve local problems, nothing more. The changes were fast. Clean water reached dry villages. Mobile clinics arrived where hospitals never existed. Energy flowed without payment or flags. No nation owned it. No company branded it. Across hidden stations beyond Earth, alien observers watched in confusion. This was not expected. One said, "Humans usually fight for control." Another replied, "He is weakening himself," a third voice claimed. But then something strange happened. Conflict dropped. In places where people once fought over scraps, cooperation grew. When survival was no longer a battle, fear lost its grip. Ethan was invited to speak, not by governments. By the Alliance. The meeting took place in a space, unseen by normal eyes, a chamber of light and shadow. Shapes sat around him, some human, some not. Ethan stood alone. "You were given power," one voice said. "You did not use it as we predicted." "I used it the only way I knew how," Ethan replied. "The way a teacher would." "Your species is unstable," another voice said. "Why should humanity be trusted?" Ethan thought of the classroom. The whispers, the laughter, the shoes. "Because we choose kindness even when it costs us," he said. "And because we learn." Silence followed. Then a question. "What if others like you do not exist?" Ethan smiled sadly. They exist. They just don't survive long in broken systems. He showed them proof. Not data, stories, a teacher teaching again, a mother holding clean water, a child sleeping without fear. One alien voice spoke softly. "This is inefficient," another replied. "It is effective." The Alliance reached a decision. Humanity would not be controlled. It would be observed. The pressure on Earth eased. Accounts were restored. False charges vanished as quietly as they appeared. Those who attacked Ethan lost influence, exposed by their own hunger. But Ethan did not celebrate. He returned to his apartment, sat at the same table, drank the same weak tea. One final message arrived from the system. Status: humanity accepted. Ethan closed his eyes. That night he walked past the school again. This time he crossed the street and entered. The building was brighter, cleaner, alive. A new teacher stood in the doorway. Lucas, older, now taller, confident. "Sir," Lucas said, smiling. "They told me you might come." Ethan nodded. "You did well." Lucas looked down at his shoes. "I never forgot." Ethan stepped back into the night. Humanity had answered the universe, not with weapons, but with care. And for the first time, the stars listened. Years passed, but the world did not forget the moment it almost lost its way. Ethan Cole no longer appeared on screens or news feeds. Most people did not know his name. That was how he wanted it. Power worked better when it was quiet, and kindness worked best when it was not trying to be seen. The systems his uncle left behind continued to grow, not as tools of control, but as bridges. Energy flowed where it was needed. Water reached lands that had once been dust. Schools opened in places maps once ignored. Humanity did not become perfect, but it became better. Ethan lived simply. He moved from city to city, never staying too long. Sometimes he helped design learning centers. Sometimes he trained teachers. He slept in small rooms and ate simple meals. When people asked who he was, he smiled and said, "Just a teacher." One morning, Ethan returned to the old district where it all began. The school still stood in the same place, but it no longer looked broken. Fresh paint covered the walls. Windows were sealed and warm light glowed inside. Children laughed in the yard. Their shoes kicked up dust as they ran. Ethan stood across the street, just watching. A memory rose in his mind: cold floors, whispers, shame. He crossed the street and entered. Inside, the halls were bright. Art hung on the walls. The air smelled clean. A small sign near the office read, "Every child matters." A class door opened. A familiar voice spoke calmly inside. Ethan stopped. Lucas stood at the front of the room. He was no longer a small boy. He was a teacher now. His posture was strong. His voice was steady. On his feet were simple black shoes, old, worn, carefully cleaned. Lucas noticed Ethan at the door. For a moment, he froze. Then he smiled. After class, they sat together in the empty room. "You never came back," Lucas said. "I was never gone," Ethan replied gently. Lucas laughed softly. "You changed everything." Ethan shook his head. "You did." Lucas looked confused. "You chose to stand taller when someone helped you," Ethan said. "That is how change starts." Outside the window, children lined up for lunch. No one pushed. No one laughed at bare feet, because there were none. Far beyond Earth, the Alliance continued to watch. Humanity had not conquered the stars. It had been welcomed. Other worlds learned from Earth, not its weapons, but its teachers. Programs were built around care, not control. Conflict did not vanish, but it no longer ruled everything. A record was created in the Alliance archives. It did not list armies or leaders. It told a small story. A man, a classroom, a pair of shoes. Back on Earth, Ethan prepared to leave the school. At the door, Lucas stopped him. "Why me?" Lucas asked quietly. "Why did you help?" Ethan thought for a moment. "Because once, someone taught me that kindness costs less than regret," he said. They shook hands. Ethan walked away, not in rain this time, but under clear sky. As he reached the end of the street, his secure device vibrated once. A single message appeared. Status: ongoing. Humanity learning. Ethan smiled. The universe had tested humanity. Humanity had answered, not with power, but with compassion. And it all began with a teacher who refused to look away, and a child who finally wore shoes.